The Incredible Journey, Chapter 2. There was a slight mist when John Longridge rose early the following morning, having fought a losing battle for the middle of the bed with his uninvited bedfellow. He shaved and dressed quickly, watching the mist roll back over the fields and the early morning sun break through. It would be a perfect fall day, an Indian summer day, warm and mellow. Downstairs he found the animals waiting patiently by the door for their early morning run. He let them out, then cooked and ate his solitary breakfast. He was out in the driveway, loading up his car, when the dogs and cat returned from the fields. He fetched some biscuits for them, and they lay down, and they lay by the wall of the house in the early sun, watching him. He threw the last item into the back of the car, thankful that he had already packed the guns and hunting equipment before the Labrador had seen them, then walked over and patted the heads of his audience one by one. "Be good," he said. "Mrs. Oakes will be here soon." "Goodbye, Luith," he said to the Labrador. "I wish I could have taken you with me, but there wouldn't be room in the canoe for three of us." He put his hand under the young dog's soft muzzle. The golden brown eyes looked steadily into his, and then the dog did an unexpected thing. He lifted his right paw and placed it in the man's hand. Longridge had seen him do this many a time to his own master, and he was curiously touched and affected by the trust it conveyed, almost wishing he did not have to leave immediately just after the dog had shown his first responsive gesture. He looked at his watch and realized he was already late. He had no worries about learning the animals. He had no worries about leaving the animals alone outside, as they had never attempted to stray beyond the large garden and the adjacent fields, and they could return inside the house if they wished, for the kitchen door was the kind that closed slowly on a spring. All that he had to do was shoot the inside bolt while the door was open, and after that it did not close properly and could be pushed open from the outside. They looked contented enough, too. The cat was washing methodically behind the ears. The old dog sat on his haunches, panting after his run, his long pink tongue lolling out of his grinning mouth, and the Labrador lay quietly by his side. Longridge started the car and waved to them out of the window as he drove slowly down the drive, feeling rather foolish as he did so. "What do I expect them to do in return?" he asked himself with a smile. "Wave back or shout goodbye? The trouble is I've lived too long alone with them, and I'm becoming far too attached to them." The car turned around the bend at the end of the long tree-lined drive, and the animals heard the sound of the engine receding in the distance. The cat transferred his attention to a hind leg. The old dog stopped panting and lay down. The young dog remained stretched out, only his eyes moving, and an occasional twitch of his nose. 20 minutes passed by, and no move was made. Then suddenly the young dog rose, stretched himself, and stood looking intently down the drive. He remained like this for several minutes, while the cat watched closely, one leg still pointing upwards. Then slowly the Labrador walked down the driveway and stood at the curve, looking back as though inviting the others to come. The old dog rose too now, somewhat stiffly, and followed. Together they turned the corner out of sight. The cat remained utterly still for a full minute, blue eyes blazing in the dark mask. Then, with a curious, hesitating run, he set off in pursuit. The dogs were waiting by the gate when he turned the corner, the old dog peering wistfully back, as though he hoped to see his friend Mrs. Oakes materialize with a juicy bone. But when the Labrador started up the road, he followed. The cat still paused by the gate, one paw lifted delicately in the air, undecided, questioning, hesitant, until suddenly, some inner decision reached, he followed the dogs. Presently, all three disappeared from sight down the dusty road, trotting briskly and with purpose.